Hey all, so relatively short one here. This is our war with DSVG. Very good alliance who's been having a very good season. We knew this one was going to be tough, and we ended up taking some odd node and lane combinations, which is why I actually only have 3 fights this war, including the boss. I do open some crystals at the end though, so stick around for that if that's your thing. First off, we have this Doom. It's Doom. Basically, the only place that Reed can't take him is somewhere where he's going to purify the debuffs or where you have trouble stunning him. So don't take him on the boss node, don't take him on the ebb and flow nodes on path 5, either section. Probably don't take him on masochism, although you might be able to get away with that. Anywhere else, Reed is just gonna eat him for breakfast. So one thing I will say that I've changed a little bit, although it doesn't really matter on this node, this is kind of a nothing for Reed, but if you are not fully ramped when Doom throws his special one thing that I have been doing a little more intentionally lately is allowing the auto evade to do the work for me and not evading even though I can. That was something that I was doing a fair amount before, but honestly, I wasn't really thinking about it. But B McG, who has also become a real huge Reed fan, I'll go ahead and link his channel in the description, mentioned it at one point, and I just started making more of a point of it since then. So yeah, that's about as easy as a Reed fight gets. We move on to this Maw. I was kind of playing tag with our Omega player. This particular lane, some of the fights worked out great for him, but the team that he had to take meant that he couldn't necessarily get the others, but I could, and we were able to take all of the rest of the paths without any problem with the other 9, so that just kind of worked out. I am boosted through the roof because the boss I'm taking is a Weapon X, and I have never taken that boss before, and I am taking him with Sentinel, who I have never used in Alliance War before, and I actually just took off defense. So I was kind of a pile of nerves going into this one, and that's probably why this is the cleanest Maw fight I've ever had. Finish with a full yellow bar, less than 30 seconds, because remember the walk-in actually counts for a few. That was just fantastic. But we do need to talk about the boss fight for a minute, because I was so nervous and so hyper-focused that I, did my duels, I double checked all of my boosts, thought about whether I needed pre-fights, and forgot to record it. So instead, we just get to talk about it. I'm really sorry about that one, but at the same time, it was a boss solo, and it secured the donut for us. Our battle group did not die at all, and so I'm not that sorry in the grand scheme of things. But basically, the reason to use Sentinel is because he kind of gets around all of the things that make Weapon X particularly problematic. Weapon X goes unblockable and can hit you really, really hard, and it seems like he always crits when he does, and then you just die instantly. Additionally, he has just a ton of regeneration, and finding reliable openings and doing damage and getting it to stick can be difficult. This is why you see, Warlock used a lot to turn off his healing, or Ghost just on the hope that she can overpower it, which does work out sometimes. But I really like the Sentinel option, and we'll talk about why. So, Sentinel can gain analysis very quickly against mutants. Basically, what you do at the start of this fight is you just hit into his block a bunch, and you only do 4 hit combos, of course, because finishing a combo into a block is a fantastic way to die. But you do those 4 hit combos into blocks, you quickly gain analysis, and then you just intentionally, take him up to a point where he goes berserk. This does require you to understand how Weapon X works, but basically, you either want to take him to 25 charges exactly by hitting into him and be ready to back the heck off, or you want to get him, I think it's above 10, and get him to throw a special, and then he'll go berserk on his own. Either works fine, but you want to be in control of it. You do not want it to be a surprise in the middle of a special or a combo. However, once you get that analysis up, as you can see here, basically just multiply all of these benefits by 100 because he maxes out at 100 analysis charges. Special attacks cost 25% less, which makes it much easier to chain the big special 2s we're going to be using without needing to land as many hits, which again is great when fighting Weapon X because he punishes you landing hits. Your armor rating goes up by 1300, which is about a tripling of Sentinel's natural armor rating and puts him at about 2000, which is pretty respectable. His crit resistance is over 1700, which actually means that he has significantly more crit resistance than Dr. Doom does. And anyone who plays Doom knows how often that comes in handy. It also makes the armor that much better because armor used to not be great in a lot of situations and still sometimes isn't because your armor doesn't save you if you get crit. But in places where crits don't work, like when Odin is blocking or when Sentinel or Doom prevent a critical hit from landing in the first place, then all that armor starts looking really good. Add into this the fact that he cannot bleed, and even if Weapon X hits you, once you're at 100 analysis charges, he's not likely to kill you. Additionally, his attack rating is doubled, because a rank 3 Sentinel, or actually this might be for rank 4 Sentinel. I didn't check on Aunt May before I took this, but the point being that this was his attack rating, and now it's doubled. That's fantastic. The one other thing on this bottom portion that matters, because I wasn't throwing any heavies, I wasn't throwing specials into block, those don't matter that much, but the fact that Incinerates now last twice as long means that we have a much more potent source of damage over time, which Weapon X is not going to heal back. And so basically the plan with this, like I said, you hit into his block, you build analysis charges, you stay alive, and you throw as many special 2s as you can. I got this particular strategy from MP Blaze, who's a former Alliance mate, now plays for New Nation. Absolutely incredible player. I'll link his channel in the description as well, specifically the video that I'm talking about where he takes this fight. And I talked to him about it before, and one thing he pointed out to me is that in addition to all of the advantages I've mentioned before, and the fact that Sentinel just gets around the regen and has the raw damage output, there's something about Sentinel's moveset that people often complain about, and it's that he feels clunky oftentimes, or like you're moving underwater when you play him. A lot of the people I know who don't like Sentinel, this is their #1 complaint. But the thing is that when you're fighting Weapon X, that's actually an advantage. You can't really see it while somebody is fighting because you just kind of assume that that player might be more skilled than you and gets out of the way, which was kind of my thought when I watched MP's video for the first time. But as he pointed out to me, you realize as soon as you do this fight for yourself and even a single duel, and the current duel target, I believe, is Zinho79, Zinho79, if you want to test this for yourself. As soon as you start that fight, you realize, oh, it's actually really easy for me to get out of the way, even when he's unblockable. So it's harder for him to catch me on dashes, it's harder for me to be surprised by his specials, and so I'm probably not going to randomly die to getting caught on a dash, which is how I've seen a number of other Weapon X attempts end very quickly. So he really is just an incredible option for this. Sadly, like I said, I was so focused that I did not record it, but check out that MP Blaze video if you want to see it in action. Basically, the only difference between our two fights is that he used recoil, and so his is a little bit faster, and I took a 5-hit combo at the very end of my attempt. I was running an invulnerability, but the last 2 hits that landed did like a couple hundred damage each for all of the reasons that we've mentioned. I could have not used the invulnerability boost and I would have been totally fine, but come on, the war was on the line. I'm not going to do that. On that note, we did end up losing this war. It looked like it was going to be a tie for a little while, which they would have won on speed, but it ended up being 7-6. Like I said, very happy with how our battle group did this time, but you know, there were a couple hard fights elsewhere. A few mistakes were made. We'll fix it going forward. DSVG did very well, earned this victory, and we just have to continue tightening up. We're working on that. But at the same time, two very tough opponents in a row, and overall, two good performances by us. I feel like we are headed in the right direction. We just have a few more things to fix. So onto the crystal opening, which I've let start to go in the background. I left these first parts in here because I was actually just short of being able to open 2 featured crystals, and I was just short of the 5-star crystal that I needed to get those last few 6-star shards, assuming the 5-star was a dupe. And so I was opening these, and as you'll see, my game just kind of decided to mess up its pants. I think right here is where it happens. Okay, so I get my Magneto, I'm happy for the 5-star shards, and yeah, I have no idea what's going on right here, but I thought it was kind of funny. So I close out of that, I go, open my 5-star, get my ISO, get my shards. And I should mention, as I've said before, I say I'm doing this, but my girlfriend is actually the one who spins most of these, so she was also laughing with me. Like, look at that, the crystal is still moving while the reel is going. I've never seen this before, and I'm actually really glad I was recording. But this I-Bomb dupe is great. I believe that takes him to Sig 60? Yes. And I actually just rank 5'd him this morning. Because I'd kind of given up on grabbing the 6-star anytime soon, and he is a fantastic champion. I want to have him around. And now he's at a higher sig, so he ramps faster. That's fantastic. So we pick up this Sigil one. As I've said before, don't spend money on this game if you do not want to, but if you spend money, the Sigil really is one of the best returns, and so I do tend to grab it. One of the things that I do with it is I pick up these cheaper feature crystals. So first spin, a lot of good things in here. That's not really one of them. I did just die to her recently, breaking a long deathless streak of mine, so I don't know, maybe there's a cosmic sense of humor in this. I do think she can be redeemed with a small buff, but she needs something, so that's not great. I suppose I could take her up for defense, and that's, I don't know, even worse. Like, yes, Guillotine still has very good damage if you play her a certain way, but I already have a rank 3 Tigra. Like, if I want to use a Mystic who relies on heavy counters to do an incredible amount of damage, I'm going to use the one I already have who's better because she can also control fights and counter projectile specials. So I really do not see myself ever ranking Guillotine. So that's fairly disappointing, but, you know, they are 2 new champions. I was toying with the idea of a basic grind sometime soon. We'll see where that goes. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will catch y'all next time. Take care.